first guest tonight is an Emmy and Academy Award-winning actor, director, and producer who I know best from the film Mazes and Monsters. You can see him next in the movie Here, which is in theaters everywhere this Friday, November 1st. Please welcome back to the show, Tom Hanks, everybody.
Thank you. Honestly, Wendy Crewson and I were in Mazes and Monsters together. We shot that in Toronto. It was a TV movie for CBS, and it came along right at that moment in an actor's career when one is convinced that we will never work again.
Yes.
Ever. Bosom Buddies had gone off the air.
Okay, wow.
All right. And Peter went off. He was doing some other stuff, and I sat waiting for the phone to ring for about 8 months.
Wow.
And then
and Mazes and Monsters, for those who don't remember, was about the dangers of kids getting too into Dungeons & Dragons.
Yeah, nothing more dangerous to a child's psychology than a board game that you roll dice in order to walk down. To imagine you're walking down a hallway underneath a mountain with some spooks in it.
What was then the one where you stopped thinking that? What was the movie role that where you, when it was over, you didn't sit by the phone and wait?
And thought I was, well, Here comes out tomorrow.
Yeah, so after that, you think?
I'm doing okay. I think I'll be all right.
Good.
There is this thing that goes on, and I don't know if you experience it. There's a time when you think, okay, I've got this one, and I've already signed the contract for the next one.
Right.
If I can just fool them for 2 more movies, I will be okay. If I can just pull the wool over America and the world's eyes just 2 more times, I'll be all right.
I think this is good for young actors who are watching, knowing that even you are like, I'm barely holding on.
Oh, you know, sometimes, you know, like you see somebody at a party, you know, the famous people's club, where you pretend you know everybody.
Sure.
You know, you don't.
Right.
You don't know anybody. You never really met them, but you start calling Johnny Depp John. John Depp, how you doing? I met Johnny Depp once on MGM Grand, you know, 100 million years ago. But every now and again, you see somebody and they're just kind of like, and you always say, pondering the professional zeitgeist. Yeah, I'm not sure that this is gonna work. I was on Seth last week, and it really was not a great set. And I think they've caught up, and that's the end of it. And it doesn't matter. It all just goes on.
This is very exciting, though. This is a reunion of sorts, this movie here.
It is. I like to say this. We're back together, me and Robin Wright, Bob Zemeckis, Eric Roth, who is a screenwriter.
Eric Roth is the screenwriter who also did Forrest Gump.
Yes, yeah.
And so he writes this, and obviously, you obviously a lot of faith with Zemeckis, and you obviously know what it's like.
We get together, we talk all the time, and sometimes we talk about movies, and sometimes we talk about dreams and hopes, and our fears.
But you can't, you can't do anything unless Eric writes it.
Well, okay, when we were doing Forrest Gump, we were down, we were staying, anybody from South Carolina? We played, South Carolina. Right, we were down by Beaufort. We were staying on Fripp Island, you know, very historic kind of place. And we were sitting around, we had like 10 days before we started shooting this cuckoo movie. Are we sowing the seeds of our own destruction here? Is anybody going to care about this? And we happened to be there in the summertime, and it was the Perseids meteor shower. This is the first time I was able to witness the Perseids meteor shower. What happens is the Earth goes through the tail of an old comet, and all the bits of the comet re-enter the Earth's atmosphere, and therefore a ton of meteors. But I had never seen a meteor in my life. And I said, you know, tonight's the Perseids meteor shower, but I think Fripp Island here in South Carolina is too far south, and we'd have to be up at 3 o'clock in the morning when the sky is at its darkest. Right, so I don't think we're going to see it. Oh my God! And there was, it looked like the head of a match that you had just struck. It was a ball of red, orange fire, and it streaked across the sky and left this trail that lingered and lingered and lingered. And I said, you know, if you believe in omens, maybe this movie we're making is going to work out, because we just saw something that was otherworldly.
And now, famously, like 10 days before you start a movie, you're just out there with a telescope trying to find.
Please, Look, oh my God. Oh no, that's a plane coming into LAX. Doesn't mean anything.
You know, it does have a similarity to Forrest Gump, but that this movie takes place over a great many years.
Many years,
And,
and a lot of optical poptitude stuff happens. Your eyes will pop out of your head because you can't believe how they do that. How they figure that out.
It's also it's fascinating because it's one shot of a home, and you see like
well, a place in time. We were always making jokes. If what's going on between Robin and me and Paul Bettany gets boring, Bob will just have a stegosaurus walk by the window, and the walls will disappear, and we'll be back in our primordial world.
Obviously, there's some technology being used here because Paul Bettany, being your father, when Paul Bettany got a call from his agent being like, "Great part, you're gonna be Hanks' dad."
Yeah, that's right. I'm 27 years older than the guy, and hey, come on, Pop, I want you to meet my new girlfriend. And Paul is tall.
Yes.
And we were always doing this thing where we were walking into our own close-ups, and they were sliding things under our feet and whatnot. And Paul had Bob said, "Hey, let's stoop." You know, that's Bob Zemeckis giving direction. And so Paul would have to like enter into the frame, stoop down so that his eyes would be in, and then he could straighten up as he walked in.
It's fantastic. It's fascinating. It's wonderful. I've got more to ask you though, so stick around. Tom Hanks, the one and only.